Good morning, everyone. It's Lynn Dunn from Stamptastic Designs. Thanks so much for joining me today. So, we are going to play around with the Paper Pumpkin Kit from this month. So, this is the May 2021 Paper Pumpkin Kit. And so, I created 6 different cards using the exclusive stamp set from this kit. So, I'm going to share those with you today. So, good morning, everybody. So these are the cards that I created. So I'll show you how to make some of these, and then you can also find them out on my blog, and I've linked to that in the description in this video. But before we get started with these, I'm just going to move some of these out of the way. I'll bring them all back in just a little bit here. I want to show you what the kit actually made. So here are my envelopes. So these are all the envelopes that came in the kit. There were a total of 9 cards that we could create with this month's kit, and they were all focused on baseball. So the kit is called Batter Up. So this is one of the designs from the kit. Well, kind of one of the designs from the kit. I just added a couple little things like this little hat. And then this one I thought was really cool. Just love that background. And then this is the last design. So there were 3 different designs in the kit, and you created 3 of each of the 3 different designs. So they were really quick and simple. All of the materials were already cut and prepped for us to make the cards. So just a little bit of stamping required. So a lot of fun. So these were the cards. What I really liked about the kit, well, I mean, I liked that it was a baseball kit. There was a really nice stamp set in here. I'm going to bring a piece of paper here so you can see it. So with each kit, they have a coordinating stamp set or an exclusive stamp set that you can use with the kit. So this is the one that came with this month's kit, and it had some fun images, baseball images in there, but it didn't have a image for a baseball. So I had to figure out how to create one using some of the supplies that I have on hand here. So that is what I want to show you this morning. So, good morning, everybody. So, I made my own little baseballs with just a circle punch. You can use a circle punch or a die, whatever you have on hand. I used a 2-inch circle punch for mine because I wanted them a little bit bigger. So, let me show you. I wanted them a little bit bigger so they were like, the focal point for my card. So, you can make them as large or as small as you want. So, any size circle punch will do. And then I was trying to figure out, well, how do I put the stitching on there? Because I really don't want to hand draw it. So I looked through my stamp sets and I found the Jar of Flowers stamp set has this fun little um, line that kind of looks like stitching. So I'm going to show you what I did. So basically, I took my photopolymer stamp. And the nice thing about the photopolymer stamps is you can bend them. You don't have to use them straight. You can just kind of curve them a little bit. So I curved it onto my block so that I could create some stitching on my little baseball here. So I'm just using some real red ink, and I just used half of it there. And then I went on this side and created the other part of the baseball. And then I probably could have looked for another photopolymer stamp that I could have used to kind of create that line in the center there. I'm going to flip this over so you can see this better. So there's the baseball. So I just took my Stampin' Write marker and just I'm kind of running out of ink in this, but just kind of went right through the center of it to create the look of the stitching. So kind of fun. Simple way to make little baseballs. Sorry, I'm running out of ink in here, so I have to keep going over it. There we go. Okay. So that's how I created the little baseballs that I'm going to use on the cards that I'm sharing with you today. So, all right, so let me grab the first set of cards here. So the other thing I did when I created my cards is I just used up some of the scrap pieces. I shouldn't say scrap, some of the leftover pieces of designer paper. So this is actually the Playful Pets designer series paper. No, we're not going to use this side, but we are going to use this fun striped side because I thought it worked really well with the baseball theme. So the first thing I did is just cut a 5 1/4 by 4-inch piece of this designer paper. So if you have any paper, any of this paper left, you can use that. You can also look through your paper stash and see if you have any striped paper. I bet you do. I'm sure I have more than just this. And then the next thing I did, I'm just going to show you here. I used these border dies. So I put my dies in a little case here. So these are new border dies. So I used this particular die to create some of the pieces for today. So the nice thing about this die, it just lays right across your paper, and then you just run it through the embossing machine, and then it creates a nice little stitching on your card or your cardstock. So what I did is I actually just cut a 5 1/4 by 4-inch piece of white cardstock. I just laid this across my white cardstock. And then I came up with these two pieces. So I'm using this piece on the next card that I'll show you. And this piece I'm using here on this card. So these border dies are really nice. Makes it quick and simple. Okay, so we got that on there. I'm going to go ahead and add this. So we'll add this kind of towards the top here. And then I just cut a really thin piece of red cardstock just to kind of go on the top. So this is a 1/2 inch wide, and this is 4 inches long. And so this is going to go right across the top just to add a little bit more color, a little bit more red color. Oh, did I put that on crooked? A little bit crooked. Okay. And then I just took all of my pieces. I got to put some dimensionals on here. And I just kind of laid them out on my card just to kind of see. I just kind of played around with the different pieces. Um, so I have my little baseball there. And then I have a sentiment or a little greeting that I created. So this I'm going to just have kind of hang off of the baseball like that. And then I have two little bats. So one of the images in this month's paper pumpkin was this baseball bat. So I just stamped it on a scrap piece of white cardstock, and then I just cut them out with my scissors. So I'm just going to use some glue dots and hold these together. I'll just add a couple more glue dots on there. So we can create a fun little baseball focal point, I guess is what you would call it. Baseball themed focal point. So these are all little pieces from this particular paper pumpkin kit. All these little pieces I'm adding, I created with the stamped images. And I already showed you how to create the baseballs. So you can do that with your circle punch. So I'm just going to add a couple glue dots here. Sorry about that. All right. So this is going to go on this side of this baseball. So I'm just going to lay this right here. And then we'll go ahead and add our little baseball. So we'll add that next. And then my little greeting here, I just stamped this, on a piece of white cardstock and just cut this out again with my scissors. And then the last thing I'm going to add is a little baseball hat. So this is another one of the images from the stamp set. And there you go. So it's pretty easy. I need to get some more little embellishments because I used up all the embellishments that came in the kit. But you can add additional embellishments onto here and you have a fun little card. So that's the first one that I wanted to show you. Get this out of the way here. And then the second one, where did it go? There it is. So then this one is actually, after I got done creating all these other cards, I used up some of the scrap pieces that I had left over. So that is what this is for created with. So let me grab my scraps here. And I'm just using Night of Navy cardstock in case you're wondering. And here's my little thing. So the first thing I did is I just cut a 3 3/4 by 3 3/4 inch piece of, well, this is actually patterned paper. So it's got the maps on it. And I just punched out some star shapes. And actually when I was creating this, I just punched out these star shapes just because I wanted to use them on a different card I was making. And then I realized, oh, I could kind of use this design to create another card. So, so this didn't start out as a card idea initially. This just kind of started out as a scrap piece of paper that I was punching out of. So this is a 3 3/4 by 3 3/4 inch piece. And I just punched some stars out. So I just used a little star punch that I have on hand. So you can use whatever you have on hand. And then I added a 2 by 4.5 inch piece of red cardstock. So this is just real red cardstock. So I'm just kind of adding it on the side here. And then I'm just going to layer all these pieces together. And I'm saving those stars for the last card that I want to show you, because the last card was inspired by a friend of mine. So I think you're going to like it. All right, so we'll just lay this on the card. And then remember this piece that I used to create this first card. This is this bottom section here. I'm simply adding this right across here. It made just a really nice backdrop for the rest of the card. So we'll just add that right across the center. And then of course we're just going to add our little pieces again. So I'm pretty much used the same pieces to create all of these cards. The same kind of baseball themed focal points. So I have my baseball bats and our baseball, the cap. So it's kind of fun. All right, I'm just going to add some little glue dots here. So I'm just crisscrossing my little baseball bats. This is probably the putziest part, adding all these little glue dots to these baseball bats. All right. And one more down here. Okay. So let's do this. So we'll add these first, kind of off to the side here. And then we'll add our little baseball. And then I did the same kind of thing, with my greeting here. Kind of half hangs off the baseball. So I have a little bit of liquid glue on one side and a dimensional on the other. And then we'll add our little baseball hat. So again, I cut all of these. I'm going to add this up here this time. So I cut all of these little pieces. These are all stamped images from the Paper Pumpkin kit. And then I just cut them all out to decorate my cards. All right, and then of course you can add additional embellishments if you want. And then these last cards I want to show you. So this was an idea that Linda Anderson, one of my team members, shared with all of us at our team meeting this week. It's just a, I don't know what you call it, a book binding type of card design. So kind of a very simple fun fold. It's got like a little binding right here. So I'm going to show you how to make this, but I made two different ones. Of course, one is in landscape style, and then the other one, this one is in, the portrait style. And you can make this binding, as large or small as you want. So this one is about 1¼ inches wide, and this one is 1 inch wide. So I'm going to show you how to make this one. Let me grab my stuff. So you're basically just going to start out with a 4¼ Let me open this here. This is a 4¼ by 11-inch piece of cardstock. And so you're going to score it now, depending on how big you want your binding. This one I have a thin binding on, so it's just a 1 inch wide. So I scored it at 4½ and at 5½ So it's only an inch here. If you wanted an 1¼ inch, if you wanted a little larger, then scored at 4¼ instead of 4½ But this one is 4½ So you'll be able to see it here. It's 4½ and 5½ So the 5½ inch score line is the center of your card. And then this 4½ inch one gives you this kind of fun fold flap here. Okay, so we'll go ahead and decorate this. So the next thing I did is I cut a 4 by 4¼ inch piece of this designer paper. You can just use yellow cardstock if you don't have this designer paper. I think this is from they're called World of Good product suite. There we go. So I'm going to set this aside, and what I'm going to do is stamp all these little pieces. So I cut a bunch of little pieces here. And I'm going to grab my stamp. I thought I had everything set up, but I guess I didn't. Okay, so I'm going to add my little stamps images here while I'm talking to you. So these little pieces, let me tell you what the measurements are. They are 1¼ by 2 inches, 3/4 by 2 inches, and 1 by 2 inches. All right. What else am I missing here? Oh, I'm missing my sentiment. All right, so what I'm going to do is just stamp all my images on each of these pieces. So I have the bat, and I like to just kind of lay them out. So the hat is my little bit bigger piece. And here is my ink. So we'll stamp our greeting down on this piece. So this is a fun way to use little images. So if you have a stamp set that has kind of smaller images, you can create kind of a little fun little framed out look for them. So I'm stamping them all in the Night of Navy which is the ink that that you get in the kit. There we go. And then all of these are arranged on a 3.5 by 3.5 inch piece of real red cardstock. So I'll bring this back a little bit here. So this is going to go on the left side, and then I have my little greeting on the bottom, and I have the little hat there. And then I just took a little piece of the designer paper with the stripes on it, and that's going to go in the center there, and that is 3/4 by 2 inches. So that's it. So I just kind of played around with these different sizes to create this kind of framed out look. And like I said, this works with pretty much any little stamp set, any little stamp images that you have. So if you don't have this month's paper pumpkin kit, that's okay. I bet you have a bunch of stamp sets that have really small little images like this that you can use. And then we'll add this. All right, so that is our focal point for this card. So let me bring this back. Okay, so so with this binding, what we want to do, I'm going to add some glue in this on the inside of the card. I'm going to add some glue right down here. So I'm adding it in between those two score lines so that I can create this binding. So that way this part stays down flat on the card, and then this part goes free. This is your kind of fun fold section. So we'll let that dry. And I'm going to pop this up on the card. And then those stars that I used on the previous card, the ones that I punched out of that designer paper, we're going to use to decorate the binding on this card. Let me grab this. Okay, so there is our focal point. So that's going to go right there. And then we're just going to add a couple of these stars. And I'm just using some glue dots. So we'll add this right in the middle first. So of course we have to use all of our little scraps up, and this was a perfect way to do it. Okay, so there is our binding. And there you go. So here's what it looks like finished. I just added a little more designer paper on the inside. But it's just kind of it's a very simple and just a fun little fold here, just to just little unique card design. Gives your card a fun look. So this is the one I did in landscape style. This is the one that I did in portrait style. So you can use the same measurements. It's just how you decorate it will completely change the look of the card. So that's that. So let me bring back some of these other cards here. So these are the ones that I just showed you. I want to show you a couple additional cards. So this card, I don't know if this looks familiar to you, but if you are a Paper Pumpkin subscriber, you might recognize this little sun ray design in the background here. So actually, it is a stencil that we got in the March Paper Pumpkin kit. So I just used that stencil instead of creating a sun. I just created a fun little background. And it's very similar to the card that came in this month's kit. So as soon as I saw that design, my first thought was that stencil, that would be really cool to just kind of stencil that in the background. And then I just created my little focal point again with the baseballs here. And then just another a fun little card design with the focal point, and of course using my little Playful Pets designer paper. So, so these are the cards that I created. They are all out on my blog. Just wanted to give you a couple different card ideas and some fun ways to use the stamp images that come in the Paper Pumpkin kit. So I hope you guys enjoyed these card ideas. Again, if you want additional details, you can go out to my blog. I've linked to that in the description below this video. So have a wonderful Sunday, everyone, and I will talk to you again next week. Take care.